That handsome brood.
Okay, well, good.
You had talked about earlier, let me interrupt you, about my parents and my family, my youthfulness. That's pretty much diminished, but my youth. I'm not sure if I said the other day, that my father was a truck driver for Borden's. My mother was a homemaker. I have two sisters. One's 7 years older and the other one's 11 years older than I am. So I'm an element, and they're both girls, and I'm obviously a boy, and I feel like a boy. So I lived in a family of my parents for virtually a decade or more by myself. So I was an only child. I was the only boy.
Well, you weren't an only child.
No, but I became one.
Yeah.
Because the other one, as soon as they were 18, they were off to college and gone.
And by that time, you were only 8 years old.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. So it was a different life. Not that different, but it was. If you ever read the book Looking Glass, no, that's not the one. There's a different book where it talks about where you stand within your family tree. And it's so true that you can almost predict things before they happen. And it just, my dad he went to bed early because he got up early, so I had to do all my homework by myself. My mother would always use the excuse that she didn't have the knowledge, which she may not have. I'm not sure. So it was it was a good childhood. It was a very good. I always was fed. My mother used to make my shirts. She made my pants, and that's what it was like.
Yeah. The kids kind of give you a hard time for how good your mom was to you growing up. I mean, your mother
made lunch, made supper.
Yeah, well, and talk about women from what era, like the 50s?
Yeah, exactly.
Women from the 50s, and she, they joke that she ironed your underwear.
That's true. Never been done since.
Well, I mean, Bobby has carried on that tradition, not of ironing underwear, but of being that, that role, which actually sparks kind of a good question for you. You grew up in the role of man and woman you grew up in man and women having their roles, right? Your mother was a homemaker.
Correct.
It was meals, it was laundry, it was all that kind of stuff. Your dad was the breadwinner. Your life is, other than those 3 years that you pointed out yesterday, where Bobby was, where your wife was,
she was the breadwinner.
Right, she was the breadwinner to allow you to kickstart your career. Other than that, you have a very traditional, family and household and everything else. We still joke that Ken, doesn't even know what a washer and dryer look like or how to work one.
I don't know which one's which is really what it amounts to. I figured it out in the last 2 months.
But, what do you see, or has that tradition that male, woman, roles, have you seen it change over the course of the years? Do you think it's, better the way it is now? Do you think there were benefits of it being more, woman being the homemaker, man being the breadwinner? What is your views on this?
I think it's changed dramatically. Everybody's convinced today that you can't have a one-income family. And there's been debates about this within the family group, and I still say that you can make it on one income, but you're not going to live the same. You're going to live probably in semi-poverty, and it just, you're going to live in a $1 million house, you're going to live in a $150,000 house, but it can be done. But it's very rare that people would be doing that today. Depending on what one or both of them made as income would dictate if they could or couldn't do it. We got down to the basics when we were first married in about 1980, and my wife was making, I forgot what it amounted to, but I know that the daily income that she brought home after all of her expenses of vehicle to get to work, clothing she needed to buy, lunch that she needed to make, she was bringing in $7 a day.
Wow.
I said, I'll tell you what, I'll just work a little harder, and you just concentrate on the house.
Yeah.
And it's been that way. She has been retired now since about September 1st of 1980.
Yeah, that's $7 a day. That's
$7 a day.
I think that people nowadays just don't have the same mentality at all about things that you're describing. People don't want to live off one small income and put the hard times in to get to the good times.
Right.
And it's like people just want the good times immediately.
Bam.
And,
It's got to be
I mean,
there.
yeah, I did that. I'm guilty of that. I mean, when I came out of college and, got my first professional job and that kind of stuff, I mean, what did I do? I, bought a Cadillac. Well, I shouldn't have had a freaking Cadillac. You know what I'm saying?
Hopefully it was old.
I mean, it was a couple years old, but it was super nice. And I got into a wreck with it, but like, it's something that is almost, you have to learn it nowadays rather than it was
Yeah.
like instilled, it seems, with your generation. Right?
Yeah.
Would you agree with it, or?
Oh, I certainly would agree with it. I started working when I was 11. We had morning paper back then, and it was called the Milwaukee Sentinel. And I delivered those papers for 6 years by myself, either with a bicycle, or as I got older, I was able to use the car and drive around. Or if the weather was inclement, my mother would get up with me and drive me around the neighborhood. And so that was the first experience at working, was when I was 11. And then I started painting houses when I was about 12 or 13 and saving every penny I could. But it just kind of shows you. I mean, we've got a 12-year-old grandson that if I told him to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and take his bicycle and go deliver the papers, he would look at me like I had three eyes. I mean, it's just not going to be there. And if I did it with him, I'd be doing it for him instead of with him.
Yeah.
And not to blame him. I mean, that's just the way he does get up early, but he's not getting up to deliver the papers.
Right.
And it was just, there was no question. I wanted to do it so I'd have my own money. And it was pretty neat, really. I was able to follow the sun as it came up, daylight savings time, not daylight. It was a good learning experience.
How did, that just reminds me of a question. So you, at MSOE, you got your associate's degree, and then essentially you started your business right away, right? Or started
Correct.
doing business right away. How did you not fall into the trap, the corporate trap of, hey, I just got a degree and I could get out and make, at that time, $40,000-$50,000 a year, whatever it was, right? And live good, and I'm getting married and we're having kids. I mean, how did you not fall into that trap, and how did you really just continue to, or start, so to say, your own business? I mean,
What taught me the most valuable lesson was I went and interviewed to get a job with a guy that happened to own the rental property that we were living in. So it was really unusual. And he was willing to pay me, I think it was $800 a month. And I said, Bill, let's do some quick math here. I'm going to give you $800. No, I'm sorry. You give me $800. I pay the taxes, Social Security, and whatever my other expenses are. And now you're going to charge me $400 rent to stay in this building. I said, it doesn't take long to figure out that I probably am never going to eat again.
right.
I said, thank you for the opportunity. You've taught me a valuable lesson in less than 45 minutes, but no thanks. I'll figure something on my own. And I did. So I would do, well, it was interesting because when I first started the business, I didn't really think about this, but I delivered fuel oil in the winter to get income. So I was always trying to do something so that I wasn't totally, because otherwise you'll never make it in business.
So it's like a side hustle.
Exactly. So I was able to stay in the building that I was renting from this Bill, but he didn't help me pay the rent. I paid him the rent, and I wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible because I hated paying him.
Yeah.
And so that was, I'm trying to think of the difference in the years. That was probably from 1977 to 79, and then we built 2 model homes out in New Berlin, and we moved from that place that I rented from Bill to one of the models. And that helped a lot. It helped out drastically because we didn't have to pay rent. We had to pay the interest on the loan, but it was far different mentality.
Right. Right.
Here's an interesting point. I didn't know what it was like. I'm not sure this is very smart. I knew what it was like, but I wasn't able to, I never took a shower. We didn't have a shower in my house until I went into 7th grade basketball and took a shower after basketball. No shower.
You didn't have a shower in your house growing up the entire time up until 7th grade?
No, we didn't have it in 7th
not
grade.
even in 7th grade.
In 7th grade, I would take a shower at school. And that's when I really thought that, well, this is quite nice compared to what I've been raised with. And I don't know if they have a shower in my childhood house to this day. I haven't been back since we sold it a long time ago. But all we had was a bathtub. There was 5 of us, and we had 1 bath.
Was there running water to the bath?
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
that's good.
Yeah. In wintertime, it slowed down once in a while because it was on an outside wall.
Okay.
And it would freeze. But that's interesting. And we talked about that the other day with my sister and my wife. And my wife, she was 1 degree worse than, did we talk about this yesterday?
Yeah, a little bit.
She had to move a hot tub into the, not a hot tub.
Fill a tub of water
Yeah, with
with
water.
hot water and
Exactly.
and
And
whatnot.
then take a bath and then dump the water out gradually. I mean, that's how we were raised. And these kids that we have, they know about this because we've talked about it. But if you told them to do it, they'd say you're crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if they run out of electricity for 6 hours, the world's coming to an end.
I have a chore sheet hanging on the fridge
I saw that.
where my son can do things as simple as feed the dog to make, but the funny thing is that's to buy like V-Bucks, to buy digital shit online that's worth absolutely nothing, right? And and they still don't do it, right? I got to remind them every day or else they just don't do it. It's
Right.
just funny.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. But the generations have definitely changed. And I'm sure there's some good if we thought about it long enough. But it just, the ambition level is not quite there like it used to be.
Why do you think that is?
Because we spoil them. And we always want to make our kids more successful, live better, have what we didn't have, and all that kind of stuff. And then you get carried away. I mean, we went from a closed tub, or what do they call that? No, it's not a bathtub.
Wash tub.
Wash tub.
Yeah.
We went from a wash tub to having, what do we have in our house? We got a shower, we got a half bath, and then we got a shower with a hot tub from a wash tub.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they certainly
50 years.
Yeah, they don't know about the wash tub. They don't know what it'd be like.
Right.
But it's just different. And we live, well, we all live good now. I mean, we don't live palatially, but we live very well.
Right.
So these kids are accustomed to be very, very well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people even talk about in general the poor people in the United States are still the rich people of the world, right?
Yeah, that's probably very true.
And it is, right? You have
Yeah.
poor people walking around that have iPhones and they still have shelter over their head with running hot water and electricity and all that kind of great stuff.
Right.
And it's somewhat the same, but it's just perspective, I guess.
And it's in the numbers. There's an extra zero on everything.
Well, that too. Yeah.
So it's difficult to put a handle on how you can change it.
Right. Right.
But it's going to take good, strong people to get it where it needs, for these kids to have as an example.
Yeah.
In our family, hopefully, they've been raised to know that you got to perform in order to get anywhere, even if they have had the silver spoon in their mouth.
Well, here we go. This will be kind of fun. So let's think of this. I said this yesterday, but this will be fun, right? Let's think of this as the time machine, the time capsule of, my son right now is 5 years old. 10 years from now, he'll be 15, obviously still, not even a man yet, a young man, we'll say. But then, 20 years from now, he'll be 25 years old and hopefully out of the house. But a lot of people's kids are not these days. But that being said, if you would tell something you've learned over the years, something of real insight and wisdom to my son at 15 years old or even at 25 years old, what would you tell him?
Simply, just idle hands are the devil's workshop. Don't get caught up in these games quite so much, and then do something. There's another saying: it's not what you do from 9 to 5; it's what you do from 5 to 9 that's going to make you a millionaire.
Yeah.
And if you just come home from work at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock and have 3 beers, fall asleep, and wake up in the morning and do it again, you're never going to be any better off than you were the day before. But if you do something functional in real estate or something, at least whatever your love of work ethic or that's whatever you enjoy, do that something as a part-time job.
Yeah.
And you'll get there. I mean, it's crazy when you think of it. And they're out there. You may be making $25 an hour at your regular job, and you're not going to make 25 being a bartender. You probably make 8 or 10 or whatever. But it's still better than sitting at home doing stupid stuff.
Right. Especially when you're young and don't have kids.
Yeah, when you still have a multiple of 10 times with the of feeling better than you do at 40
Right.
or 50 or 60 or 70. You got ambition, so use it.
Well, that's good. Is there anything maybe really real estate centered that you tell them?
Start soon.
Start soon.
I bought my first piece of real estate when I was 16 years old. I couldn't buy it, obviously, but my parents signed for it. And the greatest thing that I wanted to do and get accomplished quickly was get it paid for. I mean, I was making double payments, triple payments, whatever I could. I just stick into there because I hated having interest on my head.
Yeah.